Hello, hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live. My name is Susana Briscoe-Alba, and I am pumped that you are here. Welcome. Today is going to be an awesome day because I am going to be answering your questions in real time. So, over the next couple of minutes, we're going to dive into subject matter material, and I am going to be answering the questions that you sent in to me. So, welcome. I'm looking forward to connecting with you all today. It's going to be a good day. We haven't been live in a couple of days, but I'm excited to connect with y'all today. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, hey, friends. Hey. Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Susana Briscoe-Alba. I'm the lead career strategist at Dunamis Coaching and Consulting Services. And we teach women how to land six-figure roles through leadership development and career strategy. And I am looking forward to connecting with y'all today. Last week was our Scale to Six Women's Conference, and it was incredible. And today I am so looking forward to connecting with my online community. We did the thing in person, and I am looking forward to connecting with y'all today. So I want to be mindful of time, but I also want to be mindful of who's in the room. So if this is your first time joining me live, would you type a 1 in the chat? If this is your first time joining me live, would you type a 1 in the chat for me? If this is your first time joining me live, type a 1 in the chat and let me know where you are joining from. So I'm so excited. I see some of y'all are telling me you have interviews today. Listen, go rock this interview, okay? If you're part of this tribe, you already know what to do. So go rock your interviews today. But if this is your first time catching a live, drop a 1 for me in the chat and let me know where you are joining me from. If this is not your first time, if you are not new to this, but you are true to this tribe, I want you to drop a 2 in the chat and welcome our ones. So if this is your first time, I want you to drop a 1 and let me know where you're from. If this is not your first time, if this is your 2, I want you to drop a 2 in the chat and tell me where you are watching me from. Okay. So if you are not new to this, but you are true to this, drop a 2 in the chat and let me know where you are watching me from. Okay. And I am based out of New York. So I see people from England. I see ATL is in the building. Let's see. I see Queens is in the building. Hey, New York. New Jersey is in the house. I see Kenya is from Vancouver, Washington. Cece is in Brooklyn. Elizabeth is in California. Okay. I see people from Hungary. This is exciting. So if you are a 2, drop some welcome. Encourage the folks who are here. For those of who this is your first time, I'm going to warn you now. Be ready to take some notes. Have something to take notes with. I have my notepad and a pen. It's how I prefer to take notes. But I'm going to be dropping some tea that I hope will encourage, support you, and equip you as you go throughout your career search. So we are live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and we're live on Instagram. So if you lose me on any of the platforms, those are where you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Insta. So let's get into it. I missed doing this with y'all. So I'm looking forward to doing this today. But the couple questions that I got surrounding kind of what to expect or how to prepare for an interview, that's going to be kind of the first thing that I'm going to start with. And then I'm going to go into some of your questions. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do my best to get through the questions that were submitted ahead of time. And if you have a question, you can drop. If you're watching me on IG, you can drop it on the question bubble and I will do my very best to get to your question in the time that we have allotted today, but it's going to be good. Okay. So the first question that I got is a really good question. It's just, the question is, should I add AI to my resume? How important is it going to be to go learn? Okay. So first things first. When I get this question around AI, I definitely think that you should leverage the tools that are free to you, especially because not everybody can work with a career coach, 1. And 2, not everybody who you see online is necessarily good for you or is teaching you the right way to leverage free tools. So, when we are thinking about AI is now all the buzz. I'm going to encourage you to leverage AI, but I'm going to encourage you to leverage AI from a way of thinking smarter and not necessarily doing what everybody else is doing. So, one of the things that you can do when you are leveraging AI, there's a couple of platforms that are out there that are all for you to use for you to update your resume and all that other jazz. My favorite AI platforms that I use quite often are ChatGPT, which many of you are probably familiar with. And the other one that I use is perplexity.ai, which also is very, very good. Um, and I prefer using those in tandem. So I will put something into Chat GPT and then I will move over to Perplexity AI to be able to strengthen what the AI is creating. And then in turn, I add my own sauce. Now, let me tell you a couple of reasons why people struggle with AI. And as hiring managers and recruiters, we're starting to get a little tired of AI resumes because they all sound exactly the same. And they all sound more generic than they do personality. So if you're going to leverage AI for your resume, make sure that you are leveraging it wisely. Make sure that it makes sense for the position that you are applying for. And secondly, make sure to add your own sauce. There is nothing more frustrating than for me to be reading a resume, because we're in the process of hiring right now. But there's nothing more frustrating than for me to read a resume, especially as one who writes resumes often and reads them often, for them to exactly sound the same. It's one thing for you to edit your resume or tailor your resume to the role that you're going to be applying for. It's another thing entirely for you to copy and paste what AI is telling you and then putting it on paper. We can tell, okay? So don't do that. But definitely make sure that you are leveraging the tools that are free to you and make sure to add your own sauce, okay? So if you understood what I am saying, I want you to type sauce in the chat, because baby, we got it. Okay, we got the sauce. All right, so if you understand what I am saying, I want you to type the word sauce in the chat. I want to make sure that you are with me, because if you're not understanding what I'm saying, it's going to go right over your head. Okay, but leverage the free tools that are about. Yes, I see it. Sauce. Come on now. Now, listen, here's why I'm telling you to add your own flavor and your own personality. When they have called you for an interview, they've not called you just because you sound real good. They've called you because they already think that you're qualified. And I hope that that's helping somebody here today. Okay. If they're already calling you for an interview, it's because you are already qualified. Now walk into that interview and remind them exactly why you are the right candidate. Okay. So this is what I'm saying in terms of making sure that you add your own sauce. So the resume, in terms of leveraging AI, is going to help you to like create a foundation. But baby, we need you, not a version of you that's not real, because then you won't be real upset. Okay, so the two platforms that I use, that I leverage, that I encourage my clients to use, are ChatGPT and perplexity.ai. Love those tools. I use them in tandem. Do with that information what you may, but don't craft a complete resume based off of AI, because AI doesn't know everything. Okay. So we still need you to come in with your wisdom, with your knowledge, with your expertise. AI won't be able to do that. Okay. So I hope that helps somebody. Okay. So I see y'all commenting sauce in the chat. Yes, come on now. Let's be for real. Okay. The next question that I got was surrounding interviewing. And it says, how would I ask if they are flexible? My current employer is very flexible, and that carries a lot of value for me. Just more than money. And I would say that is super awesome. When you are in the process of interviewing, I would leverage flexibility, work from home, hybrid schedules, anything like that, at the point of negotiation, at the point of offer. Okay, at the point of negotiation and at the point of offer is where you can start to leverage that kind of language. Here's one thing that I want you to be very well aware of. Okay, so my entire team is remote. But not everybody operates like I do. There's a lot of organizations that are now requiring their employees to show up in person. And so when you are more concerned with work from home and flexibility, I want you to use that wisely and use your discernment so that they don't use it against you. And let me explain to you what that looks like. So it could be that you are qualified for a role, the salary is great, but because you are choosing to work remotely, they're choosing to pay you half of what is actually the salary for said role because you're working remotely and you want flexibility. And for some people, that might be what floats their boat. In this case, this is one of our tribe members, and they are valuing that flexibility. So when you are in the process of interviewing and they have submitted to you an offer, that is when you start to negotiate based off of those things. For some folks, negotiating becomes really intimidating and very scary, but it's because you've not known what your trade-offs are. So throughout the point of the interview, you can try to get a sense for what their flexibility is, but you can have those conversations explicitly at the point of offer, and then you drive that into your negotiation conversation, okay? So that's how I would ask or try to get a sense for flexibility. Some organizations will put it right in the description that they are remote first, or they're super flexible or things like that. But there's ways that you can ask that type of question throughout the interview that will give you insight into the culture and the flexibility that the company has to offer. And to give you more insight for that one, my love, this is for Yvette. Yvette, baby, I would encourage you to schedule a time for us to connect, so like that I can give you play-by-play what I would suggest, and then we can go from there, okay? All right, next question is coming in from a tribe member named Abigail. Abigail says, my company was acquired by a larger organization, and within the last year, a lot of things have changed and our culture is in the dumps. I am so sorry. I understand things change, but the original leadership team is no longer calling the shots, and I don't trust the overall company anymore. When interviewing for a new job, what do I give as my reason for leaving the company? Oh, is honesty the best policy? How many have been on an interview and they've asked you that question and you get really nervous? I just want to see where we're at. Have you ever been on an interview and they've asked you the question, well, why are you looking to leave your current role? And you're like, anybody been there? If that's been you, I want you to type a 3 in the chat. If you've gone on an interview and they've asked you, well, why are you looking to leave your current role? And you're like, you sure? Drop a 3 in the chat. And I do this on purpose because I want you to see that you're not the only one that struggles with these types of questions. But I also want you to be aware that there is a way of you answering that question without you necessarily dragging your current employer, and without going into too much detail that then becomes kind of drama filled instead of purposeful. I hope you caught that. Some people come into their interviews and they're drama filled instead of purposeful. And then they wonder why they're not called for an interview. It all is about, or they're called, or they wonder why they're not called for the next interview. And it really is all about the way that you position yourself and the way that you articulate your value that makes me as a hiring manager want to be able to connect with you. And so if your organization right now is going through a shift, which many are, the truth of the matter is that I would respond with something like, the reason why I'm looking to leave my current role is because I'm looking to grow and expand my skill set, and I'm looking to take on new challenges. Here's the reason why I say that. And then I would end with things that are specific in terms of challenges, things that are specific to the industry. The reason that I say that, y'all, is because it is true at its core. You're leaving the organization because you're looking for new challenges. You're leaving the organization because you no longer feel it's a good fit of your time, talent, and attention. And you're possibly also leaving the organization because you're looking for a higher type of pay. Right? But when you are going to position to answer that question, make sure that you are speaking from a place of truth. If you know that you're no longer a good fit for that organization, and based off of what she said, that's what it is. She's no longer in alignment with that organization. That's what I would say. But I would flip it to the positive. So I'm looking for a new opportunity that is in better alignment with my skills in said area that will help me to challenge the way that I see my perspective regarding the industry in said area, and how I can add value with my strengths in XYZ and my strengths in ABC. So can you see how I just gave you the response to that question, but I didn't say anything negative about the organization that I'm at? They could be in a whole dumpster fire for all I care. But the truth is, I'm not here for drama, because who has time for that? Okay. So it's really about how you are going to position yourself as the solution to a problem. So when you are going for an interview, regardless of why you're looking to leave your organization, tell me about yourself. These are typical questions that we will ask. Why here? Why now? Position yourself as a solution to a problem over bringing in drama from the organization previously. Okay. Because if you've gathered nothing from our time together, let me tell you one thing that is very true, regardless of any organization or industry that you're in. The industry might be big, but the circles are small. And all it takes is for you to say something wild once and for that to permeate into that circle. So while the industry is big, the circles are small. So be very mindful about how you position yourself and be very equipped to protect the enterprise of me as you are searching for a new opportunity. Okay. All right. That was a really good question. Okay. Let's see. Next question I got is, how do you refuse to take on more work without a salary increase politely? Okay. So how do you refuse to take on more work without a salary increase politely? And this is probably going to challenge the notion of some, but the best way that I encourage my clients, the way that has worked for me in my career, and this strategy may not work for everyone, is that I am very conscientious of assessing every 3 to 5 years where I have fallen in terms of my skill set development, so that when it gets to a point where I'm being offered to take on more responsibility, but it doesn't necessarily come with additional compensation, there's two things that I'm leveraging over those 3 to 5 years. The first is this new skill or work that I'm being asked to, is this going to propel me forward into the goals and the vision that I have for my career? Number one. And number two, is it going to make me more marketable so that I can go into a new organization or into a new industry and market those skills effectively? And the reason that that becomes so impactful is that when you start to assess your career the same way that in the US you assess college, right? We're in the month of July. June and May in the United States were big graduation months. Okay. And so what happens in the US, if you are in the US, because I know a lot of you are watching me from abroad, but in the US, every 4 to 6 years, you are either graduating, moving up, right? Graduating into a whole new school, or you're moving up. And what we don't learn specifically here in the US is how to continue to adapt that mentality as we go through our career. So this is why you find some people that will find themselves stuck in the same role for 10 to 15 years, struggling with burnout. But it's because we have not assessed every 3 to 5 years, have I learned something new, and can I market myself as an expert in said new skill? But what I see a lot of is that I see a lot of people make a lot of decisions as it relates to their career based off of fear. And so when you get an opportunity where they want to give you more work and not necessarily more pay, do you have all of your things in alignment? Meaning, do you have your resume ready? Do you have your cover letter ready? Do you have a LinkedIn profile that best describes your skill? So that even if you're not looking to leave the organization, but you now have an offer, can you leverage that offer to be able to get more compensation? Or is it time for you to graduate or move out or move up? Okay, is this making sense? If this is making sense, I want you to say make sense. If the math is mathing for you, I want you to say making sense. Because Typically, when folks are meeting with me or they're speaking with me, when I tell you every 3 to 5 years you should be looking for a new opportunity, most people get really apprehensive to that because they think that I'm telling you you should find a job every 3 to 5 years. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you should be assessing, what does the market pay for the skill set that I possess every 3 to 5 years, and is it equivalent? But if you don't have your resume ready, you can't get that feedback. Okay. So, how do I answer that question in terms of, should I take on a new role, or how do I refuse to take on a new role or more work without a salary increase? I would consider what my options are. And you can politely say no. It really depends on your relationship with your organization and with your manager, right? You can say things, well, I'm currently at capacity right now, and while I would love this new opportunity, I just don't feel like I'm going to be a good fit for this role at this time. That's a polite way of saying no. Or there's another way that you can say that, but again, that's going to depend on your relationship with your manager, and some people don't have the best relationships with their manager. So the only other way that you can politely say no is by checking out what is the right opportunity for you in this season. Here's another thing that I see a lot of, and I'm not trying to come for anybody, but I see a lot of people who find themselves spraying and praying, which is what we say in career development, meaning that you're applying to hundreds and thousands of jobs and you're not hearing anything back, but you're more concerned with possibilities instead of looking for the right opportunity. Okay? And sometimes, y'all, we fall for possibilities that are distractions instead of pursuing new opportunities, because those new opportunities feel really uncomfortable and they feel hard. But a possibility is really exciting. And so, my hope for you is that you would not pursue endless possibilities, but you would pursue the right opportunities. So, to answer her question, how do you refuse to take on more work without a salary increase politely? The other question that I would ask is, um, what would you do if they did give you the more salary? Would you still stay? Because let's get real clear about that. Sometimes money ain't it. So if they did give you the salary increase, would you stay in that role? So if they gave you more work and they gave you the salary, would that be happy? Like, would you be happy with that? For some people, they would say yes. For some people, they'd be like, I'd still be looking to leave. So if you're still looking to leave, why not get all of your ducks in a row and keep it moving? So I want to be respectful of your time, y'all. Okay. Let's see. So we covered, should you be leveraging AI? We covered what to do if you don't trust the organization that you're with because it's a bigger organization or they've been acquired. We covered flexibility with work from home. What are your trade-offs? The next question that I want to be able to address is how do you recover from burnout? Ooh, has anybody been burnt out before? Anybody been burnt out? Has anybody struggled with burnout? How do you recover from burnout is the question that I received. And I think that there's a couple ways that I can address this question. And to be honest with you, that's such a loaded topic that I don't think I'm going to have enough time on a single live to be able to address. But the first thing that I would say, if you are dealing with burnout, I would encourage you to pay attention to, what is your body telling you surrounding the environment in which you're in? I know for me, when I started to feel very burnt out, it started to show up in my body, and I started to make excuses for what my body was doing. So, what does that mean? So, I gained an incredible amount of weight in the season where I was so burnt out. because I was pursuing work-life balance instead of work-life integration. I can't get into breaking that down for y'all. But I think what keeps us bound to burnout is that the goalposts for ourselves, we keep moving them. And so the moment that we get to a point where we feel like we have achieved something, we go on to the next thing without necessarily finishing the first thing that leads us to burnout. The second thing was, not only was I burning out, not only was my body like, I was increasing my weight rapidly, because for some reason in my mind, I felt like a cookie would make me feel better. And instead of having one, I was having 12 in a single sitting. Listen, I don't know if that's happened to you, but I'm just trying to tell you what my body was telling me. The other thing that was happening physically was that Sunday nights, I would have a intense, intense bout of anxiety leading into the next day. I mean, like, just highly overwhelmed, trying to check my email on Sunday night so that Monday morning I felt like I was getting ahead, or I could give myself a way of getting started, also known as the Sunday scaries. And that would produce such a level of anxiety in me that by Monday, my team was just like, we don't know who she may be. She may be happy or she may not. Um, so I would pay attention to, again, some of those things that your body is telling you, because you only get one of these and your body keeps the score. Okay. The other thing that I started to notice when it came to burnout was that I was highly irritable. And when I mean highly irritable, is that I would take out things that happened at work or emotions that were coming up at work, and they would show up at home. So those were kind of the cues, right? So if we're going to deal with something effectively, we need to be able to assess, what does it look like realistically, real practically, so like that I know how to address some of these emotions and these feelings that I'm going through. And my family makes fun of me often because they tell me that I have very big feelings, and I'm not going to front. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So yes, I have very big feelings, but having very big feelings to the point of being out of control, we need to address that. And so I started to assess what were some of the things that were triggers for me. One of the things that was triggers for me is that I had no control over my schedule, which was why I felt burnt out all the time. So I would show up to work and I would be at the mercy of whoever wanted to meet with me. I would be at the mercy of what fire we were dealing with immediately. I felt like I always had to do the work, like I had to be in control in order for it to get done right. And so what I started to pay attention to were, now mind you, I was leading a large team. Okay. I was leading, I would say, a mid-sized team. I was leading a team of about, I'm going to say 25, maybe 30 at its peak. And then there were like adjacents to that. But one of the things that I started to pay attention to, okay, if I don't have control of my calendar and I'm feeling like I need to do all of the things, then my to-do list goes completely out the window, because I'm at the mercy of somebody else's, of everybody else's calendar except mine. So what I started to pay attention to was who on my team did some of the things that I was horrible in, who on my team did some of those things really well, and it gave me the opportunity to let them shine. Because if I could train and if I could coach and if I could develop them, and they did something really well that I knew I was not good at, then I needed to understand it was time to release some of those things and allow people to shine in the lane where they have been called to. Because let me tell you something, y'all. If you're dealing with burnout, it's likely you're trying to drive everybody else's lane. And let me just share this with you very quickly. There's no burnout in called lanes. So if you stay in your lane, there's no traffic there. There might be some roadblocks, there might be some potholes, but it's not like you won't get caught up in a whole bunch of traffic if you know how to stay in your lane. And for me, I had to come to an understanding that not everything was my lane for me to be driving in. Just as a leader, there was no way that I was going to be able to do that. The second thing was as weird as it sounds, I had to be intentional about how I was moving my body. So, because I was feeling this high level of stress, because I was feeling this overwhelming sense of burnout, what I started to do was I was very mindful um, with who I surrounded myself with. Okay. Because some people will feed off of your energy to keep you in the low. But I was very mindful of who I surrounded myself with. And my direct report, one of my direct reports, and I would purposely schedule walking meetings. Listen, they are incredible. If you are a leader in your organization and you're tired of sitting at the desk having pointless meetings, nothing will get you more focused than a 30-minute walking meeting with one of your team members, because you don't have a lot of time. And for me, I was overweight, so I was out of breath quick. So we need to get to it. So I would have walking meetings. She and I would have, again, things that we could take notes with. Typically, it was our phone. So we would speak into our phone and then be able to kind of just jot things that were really important to us. And then off of those things, I would assess, okay, what needs my attention? What needs my direction? And what can I delegate? This will help somebody right now. So I'm going to give you those three things. Okay. What needs my attention? What needs my attention, what needs my delegation, and who else can I coach with it? Okay. Those would be the three things that after I had spoken into my phone to take those notes, I would organize it by those things. And here's the thing, if you are in management or if you are in a leadership role, there are people on your team who are craving the opportunity to do something incredible, but they don't know what's in your head. So what needs my attention? What needs my delegation? And who can I develop? That should be the three questions that if you're dealing with burnout, that at least those were the things that helped me. Okay. And again, I can't speak for everybody, but I can tell you that one of the things that helped significantly was that I was going from meeting with almost everyone on my team to only meeting with maybe 6 or 7 people who were my top decision makers under my leadership. So now that I had time on my schedule, I was very jealous with that time. I was very jealous with that time. I was very jealous with the time of my direct reports and I. And then from there, I would cast the vision to my direct reports and then they would execute, because not everything needed to be done by me. At the beginning of this live, I told you that you have the sauce, right? The sauce does not necessarily mean that you have to do everything. Okay. And if you've not heard me say this before, one of the issues that I see so much with management is that some managers lead with a closed fist, right? So they're always trying to control the narrative. How are we going to do this? You need to do it the way I say. We've always done it this way. While leaders lead with an open hand. And leaders lead with an open hand because they can support their team. See how my hand is resting here? I'll show you with a different example. Always love a good lip gloss. But anyway, leaders can lead with an open hand. They can support their team, right? And their team is free to go at whatever time they want. But because I love with an open hand, I'm not going to keep you bound in here if it's not going to help us to grow. Because when people are at this position that they're bound like this, like they're just barely getting out, that kind of leadership or that kind of management leads to toxicity. And that type of toxicity creates a cancer. And if I was already burned out, the last thing that I wanted to do was deal with a cancerous individual. So I needed to be very mindful of how I was respecting my work-life integration. Who could I delegate? What needed my attention? And what were the most pressing issues? Because not everybody's emergency was mine. Sometimes the emergencies were because you lacked to do your job on time. And now you're coming to me and now I have to figure it out. This is a teaching moment. Now in the season, they didn't like it so much. They didn't like it so much when I would call them out on that. But here's the thing, and I'm learning this lesson over and over and over and over again. When it comes to burnout, I need you to be kind and not nice. Susana, make it make sense. Kind and not nice, okay? When it comes to you being kind to yourself, That means that you understand your boundaries, you set them intentionally, you honor those boundaries. And if people get upset, that is none of your business. You are being kind to yourself. Nice, on the other hand, means that you can allow people to kind of like walk all over you. You set a boundary and then they push that boundary, and it's like, oh, I'll do it this time, but next time, no. I'll tell you, this happened to me recently where I was nice over kind, and boy, oh boy, did we pay the price for it. So if that is where you're at and you're trying to struggle with, and you're starting to struggle with burnout, because it's a very, very, very real thing, I want you to look at, instead of chasing the lie of work-life balance, what is the work-life integration? Okay. Um, and maybe I'll do a live surrounding what work-life integration means. But work-life integration, I don't think we talk about that enough. And we're looking for work-life balance. And the truth is that sometimes you're just not going to be imbalanced. But if you're integrated correctly, if you have the right support system in place, then you can integrate it with success and with strategy. Okay. So that's the first thing. Identify work-life integration. Secondly, learn to be kind and not nice, because nice will keep you broke. Kind will keep you strategized. Okay. Nice will keep you in an environment that you know is not good for your health, that you know is not worthy of your time, talent, and attention. Because you're being nice, and 9 times out of 10, that nice is fear, because you don't want to pursue the unknown, right? You end up staying stuck in those types of situations. And then 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, you're still stuck in that same spot. So learn how to be kind and not nice. Kind means that after a certain period of time, if you have been at a role for a certain period of time and they keep promising you a promotion, or they keep promising you something else, or they keep telling you, oh, we're gonna have you in the interim fill this role, and then when things settle down, we'll put you as the rightful person, and you've been waiting on that for 15 years, that's being nice. Kind is being able to say, you know what? I'm tired of playing this game. So while I am in this interim position, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. I'm going to position myself as an authority in my industry, and then I'm going to move on. Notice the difference. Kind over nice. And this is something that I have to tell myself often, especially when you are leading a team. Kind over nice. Kind means that if I have a team member, I walk off of contract. Kind means that if I have a team member who is starting to feel like they can run things or be disrespectful or not honor the service that we do to women of color, or a client who doesn't agree with our vision and our intent, nice means that I have to stay working with this individual. Kind means that I don't need to stay in this mess anymore. So as much as I love you as a client, I'm not the coach for you. Okay. I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to wrap up, but I'm going to give you an example of what happened to us at the women's conference. Now, listen, whenever you hear me laugh like that, you know that there is some tea coming. So we held the Scale to Six Women's Conference, which was absolutely amazing. And we welcomed an incredible group of women over this past week, right? And there was an instance where we were hosting a part of the event, and someone walked up to one of our attendees and said, y'all, I promise you it's 2024, but what I'm about to say is going to piss some people off. But they walked up to one of our attendees and they said, oh, is this event only for the coloreds? Is this event only for the colored women? And immediately, the Susana that is from New York, and the Susana that was like, knock if you book, okay? That Susana was about to make an appearance real quick. But again, that type of Susana would have been nice, because that type of Susana would have felt all of the rage within her and would have just kept it like quiet and to myself. And what's really interesting is that things don't happen by coincidence. The person that they asked this question to was one of our attendees, and her response was just so emotionally intelligent and also kind, because she looked at this individual squared in the face and said, no, it's for everyone. Unfortunately, that's just your perspective. So maybe adjust the vision. And I was just like, yes, because you have to be able, in those types of circumstances, it will push you out of your comfort zone. And sometimes people do that to warrant a reaction out of you. So like that, they can say stuff like, oh, well, you taking it too personally. Oh, I didn't mean anything by that. Stop being so offensive. Anybody heard those types of things? And so if you've been dealing with a lot of whole burnout and you've been nice to everyone, it's almost as if once you get to that point, you are about ready to snap. And so you lose it. But when you're kind, you understand how to set people in place without having to be rude, without having to be disrespectful, but definitely being assertive. And so that is what we teach. Okay. So if you're dealing with burnout, those are going to be my two recommendations. Identify kind or nice. Which of the two camps are you falling into? And secondly, start to identify, what is my body telling me? Are you paying attention? Are you paying attention to what your body is telling you? Because some of us are just like, oh, I'll do it later. Or I'll go to the gym later. Or I'll start eating better later. Or that meeting ran over, so I don't have time to think. Because let me tell you something, love. Something happens to you, the organization will replace you in a hot second. They will have a 30-second moment of silence for you. And after those 30 seconds, they're going into the next meeting. How do we hire for this role? And meanwhile, your family is now missing you. Kind, not nice. Okay. All right. So let's get into some of the questions. Okay. So question that I got here is how to reach out to the recruiters on LinkedIn to get a positive response from them. Well, so I like to ask questions just so I can understand. My first question is going to be, before you reach out to the recruiter, have you made a connection with them? Because if you've probably not made a connection with them, it's just going to seem like another random response. And it's going to seem, again, kind of like you want something from them more than they need you. So before you reach out, make sure that you've had an actual connection with them. Secondly, if you want to get a positive response, start by adding value. What kind of value can you add to this individual that you want to reach out to? One of the things that I encourage my clients to do is to request like informal interviews, coffee chats, virtual chats, those kinds of things, in a way that they can add value based off of their skill set before they start asking for anything. So if you want to reach out to a recruiter, please start with adding value. Okay. And value that's relevant and strategic, not only to them, but to you as well. That's how I would recommend you start. Oh, this is a good question. What are the good signs in an interview? Ooh, okay, so good signs in an interview are a couple. One of those is one of the ways that I give good feedback. And now everybody's going to be like, I need to interview Susana because I know what she's doing. But one of the ways that I give good feedback during an interview is that if you say something that piques my interest, I like to lean into the conversation. So see how I just went from here to leaning in? That's an example of that. Another good point or something to pay attention to when you are in an interview is, are they speaking in future tense about your presence here? Are they speaking in future tense about your presence here? Kind of like, oh, I can't wait till you work with Sally, or I can't wait for you to meet such and such. They're already including you in that type of culture and environment. So that's a good sign. And the last thing that I would say is, if they ask you for references and they're actively engaging with your references, that's also a good sign. Typically, references will happen after an interview, but if during the interview they ask you for references, that's typically a good sign. Most people will write on their resume references upon request. Please don't do that. okay? Because that dates you. So please don't do that. But if they ask you for references, that's also a good sign. Here's another kind of tidbit. We are going to treat our top candidates as top candidates. So we're going to ask for references. We're going to want to engage with you. We're going to accept your connection requests on LinkedIn, all those things. So that's a good sign. So I hope that answered the question. Okay, so this is a question kind of around transferable skills. This individual has been looking for a 9 to 5 receptionist job. They're a part-time bartender. Hey, Fran, and they have customer service experience and administrative experience in the nonprofit. Not landing any interviews. Could you provide any advice? So here's what I'm going to say. If you're not landing any interviews, it's probably because your resume is not showing that type of expertise. So if you are going for a receptionist role and you are a part-time bartender, sweetheart, I will start talking about the level and the volume of people that you are comfortable connecting with and speaking to, especially coming from a bartender customer service experience, because I've seen how people speak to bartenders, and I could not be one of them. Okay. So I would speak about the level of how you handle difficult people, high volume and high traffic, because likely that's going to be something that they deal with as a receptionist. Anything that you've done logistically. So if at the bar you're responsible for inventory, making sure that things are on point and you're doing all that other jazz, you need to be able to speak to that on your resume. But if it's just speaking, and also like, speak their language, okay? This is the one thing that I'm going to say when it comes to resumes, because my team and I, we see this often. If you are applying for a job and you're looking at a job description, use their language to be able to position you the right way. Now, I'm giving you free game, okay? I'm giving you free game. If they're talking about logistics, if they're talking about customer service, if they're talking about customer satisfaction, and you're talking about you're only talking about how many drinks you've made or how many cups you've been responsible for, or like that kind of stuff, it's not congruent with what they're looking for. So use the language that they're already telling you, this is what we have a problem with. Use that language to position your existing skill for the new role that you want to go to. Speak to where you want to go by leveraging the language that they're giving you. So receptionists need to be able to be great with people. They need to be able to multitask. Likely you were not being a bartender for one person at a time. So if you have multitasking ability, speak about that. If you've been able to start early and leave late, speak about that. Because chances are that if you read the job description the right way, you will be able to get the right information to put on your resume. And I wish I could go into this a little bit more. At our resume boot camp, we break this down. But I would say speak to where you want to go based off of the language that they're giving you in the job description. And if you're not landing any interviews, it's likely because that language that I'm telling you to use is not being reflected on your resume and they don't think you're a good fit. Okay, so I hope that helps. Question here is how do you make a career switch when you are not sure what you want to do in your new occupation? Ooh. Okay, so I would say if you're not sure what you want to do, kind of going off of that last response that I gave in terms of transferable skills, we talked about this at the conference last week, and it was really diving into your shape. What are your strengths, your heart, your ability, your personality, and your expertise? And when you're able to identify what are the aspects of all of those pieces in terms of your shape, then you're able to better make a case for yourself in terms of what strategy am I going to follow to get me into my next occupation or my next opportunity. But most people are making decisions based off of where they're at because they know that they're not happy right now. But instead of looking up or assessing what their core values are, it's like, okay, I don't really like this receptionist job, but I'm going to apply for another receptionist job because this is the devil that I know. Well, a couple questions. Why are we trying to hang out with the devil? And secondly, Perhaps if you are not getting called for the receptionist job, but you keep getting called for like higher level things, maybe let's look at those higher level things instead of settling for what we know, because you're probably already doing higher level work, but because you have not sat with yourself yet, you're not entirely sure how to continue moving. So, Miss Pretty Eyes ZD, I hope that that helped you, my love. Um, so, if you are trying to figure out what your next step is, or if you're going to make a career pivot, thing that I suggest is identify what your shape is. What are your strengths? What is your heart passionate about? What are your abilities? What is your personality? And what is your expertise? And again, I don't have a lot of time to break that down, but that would be the first place, and usually the first place that I encourage my clients to start at. All right. What happens if HR asks you to contact a past job to verify dates of employment that you may have fluffed to avoid a time frame that you weren't actually employed? They have already sent me my offer letter, but could they not hire me because the dates were off by 6 months? Um, I want to answer this question with as much love as I possibly can have. Um, because one of the things that I tell my clients often is don't lie. If they already called you for the interview, my love, it's because they already thought you were qualified. Now, 6 months may not be a big deal, okay? Um, but if as a hiring manager, I'm not even speaking for the organization that's already giving you an offer, that's a good sign. But if as a hiring manager, I am making an offer to you based off of a lie or an assumption, and then I later on I find out that you lie and you've had a dip in performance, or you've had other issues where you've not been truthful, that could weigh against you. So I would say if you reached out, if they reached out and they said a certain time frame, um, it may not be a make or break situation for the company that sent you the offer. What I would say is use this as a learning experience and let's not do that again. Okay. And I say that with as much love as possible. I congratulate you for securing the offer and getting that. But I would caution you that if you started that way and you continue that way, it might not be in your best favor. Okay, my love. So that would be my response. Um, um, okay. Next question is, what advice do you have for recent graduates looking for a job? Okay, so something that you might not know about me is that I was in higher education for almost 2 decades. Now, listen, I'm 21 plus shipping and handling. Okay, so don't be trying to figure out how old I am. But for my recent graduates, first and foremost, congratulations, my love. You did it. You have managed to graduate, and now you're moving into bigger and better things. I would say leverage your experience from college again in a way that positions you as an authority. So, more often than not, what I hear from recent college grads is that I don't have any experience and nobody's going to hire me and all this other jazz. That's a lie, because most of the college grads that I know of have been involved in sports. They've been involved in having a part-time job outside of school. They've led a club or organization, something of that nature. So that to me displays that you have some experience in terms of customer service, in terms of leadership ability, and in terms of you being able to stick to time management. Those three foundational things are going to be things that all of us hiring managers are looking for. So speak to that. So if you are a recent college grad, okay, and you are trying to figure out like what my next step is, or how do I put my experience on a resume, and I don't have any experience, I'm going to challenge you to look at your 4 years or your 6 years in school. Were you responsible for leading any clubs? Did you participate in any clubs? Did you hold the office title there? Um, did you work a part-time job outside of school? If so, what type of job was that? Was it forward facing? Were you dealing with customers or clients? Did you have an internship where you were dealing with customers or clients, or dealing with other people who have higher titles than that of someone who was a paid intern, or just an internship in general? Those are the ways that I would leverage your experiences. So, like that, my love, you can speak to your experience based off of the need that they're looking to fill. So if you were an intern, right, you can say that it was an internship, but there were a whole lot more things that you did more than just the title of an internship. There was a lot of that. I'm hoping there was a lot that you learned that you can also leverage to be able to put on your resume. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, all right, let me just make sure that I have not missed anybody else's question. YouTube, LinkedIn fam, y'all doing good? Want to make sure that I didn't miss any of your questions. Let me see. Okay, so question that I got on LinkedIn was, how do I ask for more pay for being a bilingual Spanish speaker? Ooh, okay. So this individual, for context, this individual has been in their role now for a while. They're fluent in Spanish and they use it regularly at work, it seems like. And it seems like they would like to be compensated for being able to be bilingual. I would say if they did not hire you with the expectation of you being bilingual, I would look through what are some of the opportunities where you've had to leverage this skill set of yours to be bilingual, whether it's Spanish or any other language, and what has been the impact of your skill to the organization. So on your resumes, like, I want you to think impact over job function. When you're going to negotiate, again, impact over job function. So if you've been leveraging the Spanish language to be able to impact the bottom line of the organization, you need to start keeping track of that. Because if you were to go up and leave tomorrow, and now there's a whole population of people that the organization is going to lose money off of, right? Or there's going to be a significant hindrance to the processes and operations, then you have a case for yourself. But if you've not been keeping track of that, then they're just going to be like, well, thank you so much for habla español, and they're going to keep it moving. So impact over job function. The other thing that I would pay attention to is, again, assess the time. Every 3 to 5 years, you should be moving up or graduating, right? So what is the industry paying for someone who is bilingual, specifically in Spanish, because that was the example that was given. So what is the industry paying for someone who is bilingual, and how do you leverage that? Right? So that's how I would handle that. And being a bilingual speaker myself, that was something that I would pay attention to often. Number one, how do I strengthen my skill so that I sound and can hold conversations with intelligence and help customers as best as I possibly can? But secondly, what is the fair market value for the role that I'm in, adding my bilingual ability? And then you go from there. So I hope that answered the question. Okay, y'all. So we are at our time. Okay, we y'all been rocking with me for the last, what is it, hour? For the last hour. Now, if this was helpful to you, here's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to share it with someone else who is in the process of searching, who is in the process of needing some of this advice. Please share this with them, because our goal is to be able to share this with as many people as possible. So like that, you can listen, show up unapologetically. The other thing is that if you are in a season where you are looking for some kind of support and you would like to connect with my team and I, so like that, you can have us review your resume, talk through some of the interview challenges that you have, any type of situation like that. You can comment the word TEA. On Instagram, you can comment the word TEA, and my assistant, Susana the bot, will send you more information on how you can connect with my team and I. So if you are on IG and you're like, Susana, I need to be able to connect with you or your team because I need some support, you're going to comment the word TEA. Okay. And Susana the bot, my assistant, will send you more information on how you can connect with our team so that we can support you well. We want to make sure that we equip as many women as possible. And it's my birthday month, y'all. So I'm trying to help as many women as I can as a way of just celebrating life and being able to equip you. And again, this is just from a place of, I wish somebody would have shared this with me when I was going through this whole process. So if you comment the word T, Susana the bot will send you the information that you need to be able to connect with my team and I, and we'll take it from there. So I hope that this has helped you. If this has helped you, share it with someone else. If you are watching me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or on any of the other platforms, and you need that kind of support, okay, you can also just send me a message. You can send me a LinkedIn message. And I know how uncomfortable it is on LinkedIn because you're not sure if your supervisor is looking. Just send me a DM, my love, and we will get to work. Okay. So for my July birthdays, happy birthday, y'all. We celebrate the whole month. Okay. So happy birthday. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, if you need support, struggle is not our standard. Don't feel afraid to reach out. Comment the word T on IG, and Susana the bot will send you information on how you can connect with our team. And if you don't need that kind of support, but you know somebody who does, send them this live. Okay. So I love y'all on IG and on YouTube and LinkedIn. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your week. And to my July birthdays, happy birthday, friend. Do it up. And I will catch you guys on the next live. Bye, everybody. Take care.